Morgana had always been good at what she did. The streets had shaped her into a master thief. Swift, clever, and unafraid, she made her living slipping into the wealthiest homes and snatching their treasures. But this job was different, darker, more dangerous. It was a rumored treasure, a relic hidden deep within an abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town, one said to be cursed. Morgana didn't believe in curses, only in gold and silver. The buyer had promised an outrageous sum for the object. All she had to do was find it. That night, under a veil of shadows, she slipped into the decaying mansion. The air was thick, humid, and carried the scent of rot. Dust clung to her boots as she crept through the grand hall, avoiding the crumbling pieces of furniture and shattered glass. The mansion was deathly quiet, save for the occasional creak of wood beneath her feet. In the center of the room stood an ornate chest, its surface etched with symbols that made her uneasy. It was locked, but locks were never a problem for her. With a few swift movements, the lid snapped open. Inside was a small ancient lamp. Morgana frowned. This was the relic? A dusty, tarnished lamp? It looked worthless, but something in the air changed as soon as her fingers touched it. The room grew colder, the shadows longer, darker. A voice whispered from the very walls of the mansion. Morgana's heart pounded. She shook the lamp, her instincts screaming for her to leave. Instead, she rubbed it. With a blast of icy wind, the lamp flung itself from her hands. Thick, black smoke billowed from it, swirling through the room like a living storm. The smoke coiled together, forming the shape of a man, tall, muscular, with skin the color of midnight and eyes that gleamed like embers. He stood before her, his grin too wide, too sharp. "I am Azarael, the Djinn," he hissed, his voice like silk over a blade. "You have freed me, mortal." Morgana stumbled back, her pulse racing. A genie?" "Djinn," he corrected, stepping closer. "You may call me Genie if it comforts you, but I am much older and far more dangerous than the tales you've heard." Morgana swallowed her fear, her fingers instinctively reaching for the knife at her side. "What do you want?" Azarael smiled. "Oh, nothing. For now. I prefer to take my time. Patience is a virtue, after all." Before Morgana could react, a crash echoed from the hallway. The police had arrived. Someone must have heard her breaking in, but Azarael only grinned wider. "They'll take me," he whispered. "And you'll leave. But remember, Morgana, we are connected now. You've awakened me. I'll be waiting." The police stormed in, and to her astonishment, Azarael raised his hands, surrendering. They arrested him without question, dragging him to a holding cell. Morgana watched, her mind reeling. Why would he let them take him? Days later, Morgana couldn't shake the encounter. She learned that Azarael had been placed in the town prison, and bizarre rumors began circulating. Prisoners had started disappearing, men who had spoken to Azarael and accepted deals. It was said he offered them wishes in exchange for their souls, granting twisted versions of their desires. One prisoner, who wished for wealth, was found suffocated under a pile of gold coins. Another who wanted freedom was found dead, the walls of his cell covered in claw marks. Azarael was playing a dangerous game, using his imprisonment to spread chaos, his influence growing with every wish granted. Morgana couldn't let it continue. She had to stop him. One moonless night, Morgana sneaked into the prison, moving through the corridors like a shadow. Azarael's cell was at the far end, isolated from the others. When she finally reached it, the Djinn was sitting calmly on his cot, as though waiting for her. "You've come," he purred, standing. "I wondered how long it would take." "Stop playing games, Azarael," she growled. "What are you planning?" Azarael's grin widened. "You freed me, Morgana. Now I'm here to repay you." "I don't want your repayment," she snapped. "Oh, but you will," he whispered, "because you'll ask for 3 wishes. And when you do, the gates will open." Morgana froze. "What do you mean?" 3 wishes, mortal. That is all it takes. Once granted, my kind will be free, unleashed from the shadows, and the world of humans will be ours. Your kind will fall. You, of course, will be spared. I'm feeling generous." His eyes glittered with malicious delight. Panic gripped her. "I would never make a wish." "Not yet," he said softly, stepping closer to the bars of his cell. "But soon, you will. You see, Morgana, I don't need to force you. It will be of your own free will." Morgana backed away, her mind racing. He was playing with her, twisting her thoughts, trying to make her desperate enough to ask for something. Anything. But she wouldn't give in. she wouldn't let him win. In the weeks that followed, Morgana's life became a waking nightmare. Strange accidents followed her. People close to her vanished or turned on her. She felt Azarael's presence everywhere, a dark whisper in the back of her mind, urging her, taunting her with impossible choices. One stormy night, everything came crashing down. Cornered in her apartment with nothing left, she broke. "All right," she screamed into the darkness. "I wish for all of this to stop." There was a low, rumbling laugh. Azarael appeared, his form coalescing from the shadows. "That is one." Morgana collapsed, her breath ragged. The weight of her mistake pressed down on her. She had started the countdown. "I'll stop you," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I won't make the other two." Azarael simply smiled. "You will, Morgana, you always do." The weeks that followed were agonizing. Every corner Morgana turned, every decision she made pushed her closer to the edge. Azarael haunted her dreams, slipping through the cracks of her reality. She could feel her resolve weakening inch by inch. And then, in a moment of weakness, she uttered the second wish. "I wish for peace." The Djinn appeared, his laughter filling the room. "That is two." Morgana's heart sank. She was too far gone now. The final wish loomed inevitable, like the pull of gravity. On the night she made the third wish, the sky split open. A cold wind howled, carrying with it the screams of the dead. Azarael stood beside her, his eyes burning with triumph. "I wish for it all to end," Morgana whispered, tears streaming down her face. Azarael grinned, his form dissolving into smoke. The earth trembled, and the air grew thick with the presence of his kind. The Djinn were free, and humanity was doomed.